I got these What part of it? Like, what did you want?
Yeah, we would get like from our very own game. I'm talking about a very exciting time.
Hi everyone. Today we're going to be talking about immersive media live coding. And I know already this semester we've been introduced to one new technology. And today I'm going to be introducing, which is really pretend. That's a little roadmap of where we're going to be going today. I want this to be more of a, it's not going to be so technical. We're not going to be getting super into the nitty gritty. We're going to save that for the Wednesday. And really want this to be a more discussion oriented section. And there's a couple announcements. I have one book over here that's about contemporary video games and art. We can pass that around. Over here, I have the book called The Red Book by Carol Young, that talks a lot about being conscious, and I think for the artistic creative process, about some of those writings feel very salient, and we can free to pass that around too. There's also a Red Bull. That table over there, if any soldier is a desperate need today. And please, this is up for us. Please take it. My gift to you.
Where I brought into class a Carl Young book and one good.
That feels right. That feels right. You know, whatever feels right. Like I said earlier, if you still feel it's pass it out.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. With that said, some of us, we have GP going on, we got Unreal going on, we got our Intro to Japanese class going on, we got family stuff going on, right? And that's all. And let's address that. I want us to all be present together right now. Let's take advantage of the time. Let's kind of be grounded in this. I had you sit in different seats today to kind of shake it up a little bit, get into this mindset. Let's ground it as well. Let's just do like
Seminary stuff.
in my view, we do have like a writing, the reflective exercise. So if you want to type that, or if that's the view that you want to use, I could do so. If you want to like touch grass, get out the pen and paper, please do that as well. Whatever feels right. And with that, let me introduce some prompts I think can be helpful for guiding data. Now, I have 3 questions here for you. Spend one of them, maybe focus on none of them, maybe none of them. let's just silently spend a couple minutes writing, reflecting, thinking about those questions. Reflect on your why. Let's return to class 11. What are your motivations for pursuing this class specifically? When do you feel satisfied by your? When do you feel like it's been a success? What part of the creative process / technical process, because really there's so much, energizes you or exhausts you? Or can you feel it in your body? I wish Melissa, who created the all the media videos on jellyfish, was here right now, because one of the things that stood out to me was she would come in with her brace on, and she would say, "This is what will happen to you if you don't take care of yourself, and you're working for like 8 to 10 hours a day, and you're not zoom out. You will have permanent, long-lasting consequences." So let's just be mindful of that. Or I just want to call attention to that. In a couple minutes. And then when it's time, so I'm going to put it there.
Okay, go, go, go.
Those two. Are you feeling? Good job, John. Well, let's do 2 more minutes. You everyone for indulging me. Is anything coming up for people right now? Want to share something? Perhaps critique or
Yeah. Or wild past that way. Okay. Navigate. Like, like good like writer's block or artist. But I think that'll. Like often
that helps with kind of navigating that feeling, the frustration that comes up to that. Look for myself, it's like sometimes I have to like completely walk away for a bit and then get that fresh eye on past then.
I don't have any specific, but yeah. But we like trying to avoid all. What? So for the one like feeling satisfied, so obviously in general when the result is good and there's like feeling. Also, I feel like for me also when they're like extra satisfied when I
Like working from a place of limitation. That can inspire a lot of creativity, or that kind of can provide a lot. where there isn't a path of corner. Question one. Something really. Very good. As long as you know, if you're, I don't know.
I would visit that kind of big fan. And especially like visual objects, and it turned out to be like a lot bigger and more radical.
Full final visualized product, like that is like what's a trend. It'd be so different from the actual journey to getting there, right? That's like two completely separate things. Good to keep that in mind. Yeah, I appreciate it. That being said, fine. Anyone?
Thinking about my life, then plus years, been basically the same. I love computer graphics and creative technology. Always. Like one thing to work on, kind of thing is getting to the next year. All of doing well by being friends.
What was something the word making things that feel like we're actually approaching a challenge. What actually is? I'd say one major way is escaping the box. Something different. Making a similar problem from. Well, how do we begin thinking about that? I think first we need to evaluate what is considered. So what can that look like if we're thinking about video games? We're pushing pixels, right? Keyboard and mouse. If we this is interaction occurring. Six spaces, right? It's at home. It's here. Well, maybe it's at entertainment venue. So hall. Maybe it's at the rave. Maybe it's at work. Okay, now we kind of discussed what's useful for us. How do we actually break out of this? How do we think about this? Well, let's think about this from a very sensing perspective. Now, I think it's very easy to different senses that are other than visual, or to think about space, things that are outside the 2D screen. Actually, it's possible to challenge within a 2D context. I think the major way that can be accomplished is through recontextualization. Seeing something that's so mundane day to day and having it be pieced together. Put 2D still images. It's very warm. Or, and this is also the key point, Drawn connections between seemingly unrelated elements. Abstracting, they get the kind of fun. The comments are just like, being opposite. That we see versus plan.
I like the comic. They'll you.
See, bro. Angie, don't forget Angie.
Yes, he seems very. I would wear a shirt that said that.
Maybe it's something in sweet.
Yeah, somebody go make that shirt.
Very hard.
I saw a whole block of first one is perfectly great. But how do you feel like it's
It's still.
Does anyone have any thoughts or feelings on what we just said? What did that bring up? Well, never mind. You know, I'm not searching for profundity. I don't need philosophical treatise. Just thoughts. All those and like, kind of phones, like limited. But obviously, you can start to imagine what if this is projected, or what if this was scaled? Now let's talk about senses. At least in terms of sensors, this can come in any part. Depth cameras. There's lots of tutorials for touch designer where people experiment with that. Same with all sensors, microphone. Barometers, heart rate sensors. There's lots of stuff available. Technology touch designer, they're really built to take in some of these. I have 3 examples of them. Yeah, just look at here. First one that came to mind, playing with the context outside of just keyboard and mouse was a game for your eyes. And this is the trailer. So it's going to kind of explain the logistics of studying this. I'm like here, I'm hearing like the song going on. Okay, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. It's ready. It wants to be shot. I really recognize this one. I think that. Okay, has anyone here heard of facade before? It's like, I feel like it kind of broke the fame with people and people like playing it. It's whole kind of cool underlying thing, but this like AI based dialogue system. You could type in. Also for context, the two main characters have a marital dispute, so this oh, game ends there. Yeah. And as you can see there, that wasn't necessarily taking in. Kind of been a process, but I think still a cool way to
Understand, what is the mechanism for us?
just you are actually typing the class.
You go into the divorce.
Yep. Yep.
They don't mess up theirs. They just
That's right.
dominate.
Yes. I think it's free. Okay. Last one that was also a big cool usage of made any loud noise. Well, here's like a short clip of Hey, damn, damn.
Keep my pants up.
Me too, me too. Outside of those are all books. Outside of that, senses, sensors, and now we're kind of transitioning to the art world. This is a project called Yawn October, maybe 2020. Have an artist, an awesome artist statement on the website, so we can kind of just read. John Locke took over and has a speculative model filter. It's that species. I did see touch the phone, move it. Recontextualize reality for the language. This is an interesting project, not only because it's speculative nature of it. Techniques, what we do. Imagining this new. Linked up on the slide. Wait, sure. Okay. After seeing some or to kind of reflect on the act of creation, how the inputs either from microphone or it's like you're blinking, for example, really cool. It's interesting. It's kind of outside of cognitive. However, I think it's important to that a view from nowhere, or this idea that we can kind of create something in a vacuum. That's impossible to do, right? I have some examples here where we kind of turn in the sense that we should question how that data is being used. purposes and uses of these technologies. The bottom one, I think this headline kind of this article, but basically this article was to train an AI model, and then additionally how, like OpenAI, I think initially promised that this data would not be used for militaristic purposes. However, it's not off the table. Or we shouldn't be naive and expect for this to not. And it's interesting because we can also think about things that seem, I think, pretty. Look at my cooking after. How that data, I think we saw a project where a person was reimagined. That data can also be so this is a project called Facial Weaponization Company. It's created in and I was introduced to this project originally by a professor here by the name of Thomas, who is teaching faculty in the anthropology department in a class called Anthropology, Race, and the Making of, where this was contextualized, situated in terms of thinking about human. How can we go about that ethically? But I would like us just to watch and sit with this video in terms of thinking data, affordances, and just how we consume and work with these technologies as technologists on the day. I remember when I was 19 years old, freshman in college. Still digesting. Hey. I think my commentary is toward this. In terms of the technical, saw how they were creating this, right? Voice functions or some that's very achievable. But I also would just like to encourage to theoretically have that philosophical project is the perfect place to explore that as well. I encourage you to explore or balance the best way or get lost on the way. So one last thing to leave this was that when I was taking that same question that we were left with was can our interventions recommending it? Okay. So we've talked about input output. What that look like sensors. Well, specifically, let's think about more messaging and version. Let's start thinking about versions. This example was actually featured at 2023 SIGGRAPH and it is challenging femicide. It enables you to kind of have the POV of an artist in her day-to-day life as she navigating social, political turmoil and unrest. And some things I think I want us to keep in mind as we watch this trailer. Think about the audience. Since everyone was kind of set up in their own little corner with just like a VR headset on, they're kind of like isolated, right? What does that actually do for this experience? From the experience, what is talking about community, is talking about crowd, or is it kind of more intimate first? You can just watch. That example, we were kind of thinking how that looks like on the individual level. What does putting on your device or anything kind of do our psychological state? How does it frame the information we're presented with? It more visceral? Can it make it all more detached? Good questions to keep in mind. Another example where let's talk about scale. Let's talk about bringing things into the 3D world. And similar to block tracking, where we're still working within the 2D space, mapping something onto our 3D. Bit of artist background. These are works by Chris Juanizico. He taught class here actually called Interrogative Design and Cultural Prosthetics, which was an excellent class. I hope in the near future maybe he comes back and he does something again. But to my knowledge, I think he's up at Harvard right now, in their architectural and design department. He is really known for these mass, large scale projection mapping projects and other kind of, let's say, challenging, critical ways of using drones or other kind of related. Maybe with him, maybe let's watch the website a little bit actually. That's an interesting project to me, just because that's, you know, violent is kind of really a human face to it. Audience to directly look at one of the eyes. Direct, eyes of the voice of the airborne machines belong by demonstration. Origin and age. Just Italian, probably donor of the government, social. In a formal center. Okay, yeah. Was more
Focused.
oh,
This
really amazing. The power that comes from the questions about scale. Planet, grandeur. As the artist, designer, technologist, computer graphicist, it's completely up to you. And I think it's just important to ask that the professor, he also talked about very inspired by Austrian our Germany, the dog. This is a short video of pole dam. But I think it can appeal to our geometrics. How can this be particularly reduction? Good dancers versus finally, we got to what this lecture is like. Live coding. We haven't even talked about immersive media yet. Let's hope we get there right. Live coding. Why did I show you all these? Live coding, as I've defined it, I would describe it as a performance. Algorithms programming in real time. But not always. There is a precedent sometimes of go to a dark closet or something and mess around for a little bit before burning. Others kind of just begin that process of crafting right there in front of everyone. This is one way the performance and historical perspective. So this is something called the Generative Manifesto. And Adrian Gordon, Alex McLean, 90s, early 2000s, they were like disgruntled college students, as disgruntled in the sense that they're like CS programs or the various, they weren't kind of affording them the opportunity to from their POVs in terms of collaboration and so they came up with the manifesto as a guideline to help guide the live coding movement. So this is, I'll read off what this handwritten note. One is attention to detail. The only handmade generative music allows you to go deeper into creative. Real-time output and compositional explore new sonic environments with echoes from our own. Art reflects human narrative. Code reflects human activity. Says, open minds. We have nothing to hide. Code is unambiguous. It can never hide behind a story. We seek to abolish obscurity in humans. Only use software applications written by ourselves. Software dictates output. We dictate software. Authorship cannot be granted to those who. They were not the first to come up. Going back to the dance scene, contemporary kind of avant-garde trainer with the No Manifesto all the way back in '65, where the entire goal of that was to revolutionize dance and reduce it to. Although maybe they might not be involved with something in our final projects or our personal projects. I think the essence is still the spectacle, note of virtuosity, notice transformations and magic and make everything. Note to involvement of performers style, that it can't. By the wild performance. Actually take a look at some footage from Algo Rave. I'll just play a short clip of this, but let's just kind of get the vibe of what it looks like to be audience versus. you know, live coding, it's meant to have fun, to have some rhythm, to energize, right? So another potential thing to think about for project wise, algorithm in general, aesthetic class, kind of leads us to what exactly is it? I've talked about touch designer, I've talked about projections, performance, but immersive media, as defined by Meta, concepts of immersion, storytelling experience. It circles back all the way to slide number 2. Why are we doing it like this? Hopefully to make meaningful work, or to make it memorable. That can look like VR, like the first project by artist Morimoto. It could be mixed reality, or it can just be other general. One good example of this is Wolf, where that's the whole business is, right? Fiction, yeah, I don't know what to call it, but um, really, it's like this is one of New York City's. This is totally next year in LA. I know they must have one in LA. They must have one in like California. But yeah. Other example, Team Lab, very similar setup where we have action and obviously the visual, right? It's kind of what smell like there, temperature like, kind of bold, warm. All these other senses also use. That all. For potential inspiration. Now I have another discussion question. What makes an experience seamless? Other than kind of some of the stuff. Anyone have any initial thoughts about this?
It's not what. It's like,
course, what comes outside or what preceded that experience. But the ideal is that you kind of go into flow state, or kind of, you can trick your brain into. So now that I've talked about live coding, I've talked about immersive media, so how can we actually achieve this? What tools can be used to make these? I just wanted to list them out here. The touch designer is really the star of the show because of the ability to do basically everything on the right there. Resolume, that's more for like DJing, for live coding. Hydra, that's what I believe that's what that performer is. That's all my based. And a lot of the techniques from touch design, if we're talking about an audio react project, the same algorithms, techniques, you can transfer them back to the back. Or it's like the essence remains the same. Unreal, of course, Unity, 5JS for more creative coding in general. And Touch Designer is awesome because it has inbuilt kind of back-to-back compatibility with Unreal. You want to send things from Touch Designer to Unreal, like how you can bring it into HDA. That is feasible. People have open source stuff to do the same. Route, something like that. So if anyone's already getting ideas or things are kind of percolating, there is ways to explore how these tools. Then in terms of some of the techniques, projection mapping, that's what we saw with our stuff with the tracking. That's what we were seeing. Goes like I should be on Pinterest. Involving people have been visualized, right? Recognition. I mean, that can go into interface and all different kinds of subcategories there. Audio reactive that I just mentioned, which I think connects. I think more lively as well. And then there is washing for taking a video, making like the lecture. A bunch of examples. Left, I really like her stuff. She goes by the poet art. I'll plug her page in a minute, but she has lots of great videos. How far you can take it in Touch Designer. Also, talking about audio reactive, but I think a little bit kind of expansively. Artists like Imogen Heap have used things called clubs, where she can modulate her voice or like that device. This washing. On below it, that was a really cool example of projection mapping, but not onto a building or a static kind of 3D object, but a body, a performer. Left of that is example projection mapping in a more static context. I was in Guadalajara. Oh, they can take a look at all of the watch one first. I'm kind of leaning no, but you guys tell me. I love the internet. I love the internet. I think this is already on. She makes really cool videos. Talking about interface a lot. I'm touch designer. That being said, I'm going to a little bit of time left. Thinking out in terms of the final project, but maybe this might get a little bit of a.
Okay, friends. So, actually, first of all, we give Claire a welcome to the party. I like to reserve some time for the end semester. Possible. So, answer questions about that. But I hope that the take that you saw that you got the main takeaway. Creative technologists, well, mostly what we do is obsess over putting things. But you are very powerful that you. I want to give you the opportunity to start exploring that right now. You may have noticed that as we've gone on, our homework assignments. Culminating in the final project, which is. But that's kind of an overwhelming prospect. So I also have a number of. Actually, let's pull up the GitHub. Right? But the long and short of it is, you guys are going to have a whole month to work on whatever you want. I have a couple of prompts. One, for example, is other is a classic 4K demo. I love the demo scene. Like give it there's plenty of different directions to take it, but the long and short of it is for you. Allowed to work in groups of up to three. Three is a hard cap. I will not allow any groups that are larger. The reason for that is not because I don't want you to be able to class for a number of years. I find that generally speaking, the larger the groups become, like this, the more unwieldy it becomes. Loss of efficiency every time you add a person, even though you can do one unit of work by yourself. I think like people end up doing like 8 units of work. End up doing like point. So I would encourage you to try and stick to just people unless you really feel very sure about your chosen path for it. But otherwise, like try and keep it small. You can work on whatever you want, and you're going to have about a month start to finish. I think I've reserved for planning. You can start like doodling. I am going to ask you to take this project very seriously, as if you're working on a professional project. That means planning before you start building. So we've divided the project into a number of milestones. Milestone 1 is going to be, or milestone 0 is going to be planning. Milestone 1 is going to be you basically finish off like the basis. Milestone 2 is going to be bug fixes, adding extra features, like and then you're going to spend polishing and bug fixing. So when people ask me what should the scope of this project be, I say about 1.5 homework assignments. It really doesn't sound like a lot of work for a final project, but given that I want you to take it a little more seriously, add more polish, and you are not paint by numbers in any base code, 1.5 homework assignments is plenty of. And I wanted to take this time to announce final projects is because I think it's great to think about this right on the field of clearance. Which is think about like what excites you. You don't just have to, assemble a thing that you know that if that really calls to you, but take this as an opportunity to think about what do you do given time and space. Later on in your career, you're going to crave this very thing. Like, man, I wish that I just had like a month to do whatever project called to me. And I want you to take that space now and start take that opportunity. And Adam and I are available to help. One of my requirements for the project is you must schedule a meeting with us, your project, to make sure that mostly I care about feasibility of like I want to set you guys up for success, and it is easy to bite off a little more. I'll talk more about how to schedule that. We're going to do something a little bit different. Schedule on its head. Monday will be our lab exercise because that is the day that we are releasing our final projects. So I'm going to give you guys Monday to kind of like think about in class, talk with me and Adam in class, start getting set up, start getting organized, how you want to. So as your homework between now and Monday, in addition to start thinking about what is it that you want to tackle, and if feel free to work alone. Many of the best projects have been people doing solo projects. But if you do feel like working with other people, with your partner or maximum of 2 partners. And again, I really, really recommend, if possible, work with one of them. Absolutely. Here's your fun secret. Now that we're approaching the end of the semester, change the URL for the previous year. if you go to last year's, there's a reason why I put everything up on GitHub is because I want everything to be open source. Classes for your classmates. Go and look through people's pull requests from last year. You'll see there's 20. I think we're talking good about our gaming expenses. Omaha.
There we go.
Yes, so you have several years of final projects to look through and not out there. Okay, so your marching orders are come to class on Monday, prepared to start thinking about your final project. Adam and I will be available 6 hours also for talking you through what we want to do. Idea you could start on your planning module through design doc. You're gonna have again 4 weeks of development time plus total. JK, you have 3 weeks of development time and 1 week of planning. Hey. Oh my god. Okay, just kidding. Sorry, I totally misspoke. I hallucinated that today was Wednesday. On Wednesday, we are having lab as usual, normal lab. And on Monday, again, we will have lab, which we are design study.